Hello, and welcome to A Seat at the Table. I'm your host, State Representative Sarah Anthony, and I have the privilege of representing Michigan's 68th House District, which includes the city of Lansing and Lansing Township. A seat at the table is a chance to sit down and talk about today's hot topics in state government and highlight the great things happening right here in our community. As your state representative, I want to make sure that our state government is open and accessible to everyone. I hope this show will leave you feeling a little more connected and informed about what's going on at the Capitol and our wonderful capital city. I am so excited about today's topic, women in the 100th Legislature. This legislative session, we have a record number of women serving, 53 in fact. And according to the Center for American Women and Politics, this feat has propelled us to 12th in the nation for women in politics. This shift in demographics has already brought a shift in perspective in the House of Representatives, reflected in our legislative priorities and the tone of our relationships. Today, we are joined by Democratic leader Greig and Democratic Policy Director Coffianne Hawthorne. Leader Greig is a representative from Michigan's 37th House District, which is comprised of Farmington and Farmington Hills. Leader Greig, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for asking me.
Yes, it is such an honor to serve with you and really just see your amazing leadership style. So thanks for being here. I have a couple questions.
Okay.
One is, well, first, congratulations on your leadership as Democratic House leader. Can you tell our viewers about how you got here? So what was your journey to this path in leadership?
You know, it was a really interesting journey. So when I went into college, I actually wanted to do this. This was what my career was going to be, was being in elected office and serving the public. Took my first class and really didn't care for it. So I went on a whole different trajectory. I went into actually computer technology and consulting for over 20 years. And then I started getting more active in the community, and in particular in the schools. And that's where that fire came back. Almost 30 years later, I had a real reason to serve, and it was to fight for public education. So that's how I ended up in politics. Now, leadership was another different path, too. So my first term, I served as the vice chair of the Progressive Women's Caucus, and that was an amazing opportunity for me to really work on legislation that women were championing. And then I also took on the responsibility of an assistant floor leader in my first term. In my second term, I was elevated to floor leader, so managed the operations on the floor and, you know, and connected people with their committee work. And then the last term, here I am as leader.
That's awesome. And I must say, it's a point of pride to see you at the front, right? At the head of the table, if you will. For our viewers who are not in politics, can you tell us about what does a leader do, right? What does the House Democratic leader do? What are the roles and responsibilities there?
Right. So I lead our caucus. So our caucus are all the Democrats that are currently serving in the House, and we have 52 members, which is so exciting. We actually had a net gain of 5 seats in this last legislature. And what I do is I set the vision and make sure that I manage the agenda of all 52 members too. So I work with them. I make sure that they're getting their legislation moved throughout the chambers, and we work together to make life better for Michiganders, because what we're really here for is improving lives.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Can you talk about, so I'm interviewed a lot, you know, and many times folks will say you're the first woman this, or you're the first African-American this. In fact, I'm the first African-American woman to serve the 68th District here in Lansing. Can you tell me why it matters? Why does it matter to have more women at the table, either in politics or just broadly in leadership roles?
Well, if we're really in a representative democracy, then everyone needs to be represented, right? And so women are more than half of the population. So we really need to have that seat at the table, and actually at the head of the table as well. And that's so that we're getting all perspectives when it comes to policy, because the more people you have engaged in the conversation and trying to solve problems together, the better that solution will be.
That's right. That's right. What advice would you have for women, either young women or women who come to this journey in politics later on in life? What advice would you have, or best practices for women who are interested in getting involved in politics, either in elected office or even at the grassroots level?
You know, I think one thing that was really important for me was seeking out mentors. You know, taking advantage of the women that have gone before you, and actually not just women too, right? And really getting a feel for what it is like to be a public servant, and then also to be in elected positions as well. There's a lot that you go through on the campaign trail, and then once you get here, there's a lot going on on running an office, putting together legislation, meeting with your constituents. And so the more you grow your network and have mentors that can help pave the way, I think the better. And that's also like decide what issues you're really passionate about as well too. For me, it was public education and economic development. I was a small business owner too. And so really working on opportunities for business as well, and making sure that we have the talent through our school system, that's where I wanted to focus my abilities too. And so seeking mentors for that as well as for actually running for office were really important to me.
So awesome. I mean, I just listening to your story, you bring so much to the table, right? So business experience, passion for education, and that competitive edge, which is just being a woman and being able to bring
Yes.
those skills to the table. So it's really awesome. You talked a little bit about your journey, and sometimes I think we miss the opportunity to talk about the challenges, right? Some of the hurdles that we as women face in running for office or even just being in elected office. What have been some of the challenges that you face?
You know, I think some of it is, and you'd mentioned before that a lot of times you were remarked that you were the first one for this or first one of that. It's hard to be the only one. It really is. In my second term, when I served as the floor leader, I was the only woman in elected leadership in the legislature, either party, either chamber. And so not having someone that's, more like your style when you're solving problems, it clearly was a challenge. So things have changed dramatically in this 100th legislature. So having a governor, attorney general, secretary of state, Stephanie Chang is the floor leader over on the Senate side, and we have Republicans in leadership as well. Republican women. So it has changed the conversation, the way we approach solving problems too. And I think that was one of the biggest challenges. So as you trailblaze, just make sure you're bringing others up along the way because it gets easier with the more that you have.
That's right. That's right. Even when I am in committees with, both Republican and Democrats, and I see a Republican, even a Republican woman on the other side of those meetings, I am still proud, right?
Yes,
because they're
absolutely.
bringing experiences as moms, as small business owners, folks, as aunties like myself, right? And so it's just a point of pride. That record number of women we talk about aren't just Democrats. So it is a cool time to be serving, I must say.
And I have to say, being a woman too, at least in my personal experience, is where you did feel like you were fighting against the majority, we'll say, in different ways. It's really important that you feel empowered and that you are reaching out and talking to people. It's just been an amazing experience. And part of it is as you're going through life too, and making sure that you're using all those individual experiences. Like, not everyone knows, but I'm one of 12 kids, and I had 7 brothers, right? And that was a big difference. I went on to a college that had only allowed women for 10 years before I got there. But it was just all of that life experience that ends up helping you out. And women in particular, I think we're good at talking about the issues without being maybe, let's just say, maybe as aggressive as we may have some of our male colleagues. And again, not that there's anything wrong with it, but when you have both of those styles, you make sure that everyone gets heard.
I totally understand you now. I totally get it. You grew up with so many brothers. I get it now. I get it. So that's where leadership comes from. So you are kind of the leader of the House Democrats. Can you talk, and this is not a partisan show at all, however, can you talk a little bit about some of our Democratic priorities, and particularly ones that impact women?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think overall we need to move more toward people-centered policies, and what that means is you really start at the community and the grassroots level up with the individual, with the families. And so what we talk about, what empowers people? Well, they have to have good jobs, and to have good jobs you have a great education, right? So public education, working with our allies in business and in labor to make sure that we have apprenticeship programs as well, working with our higher education organizations as well to make sure that there's an affordable path to college. And of course, getting to school, getting to your job, getting to church, getting to fun, it requires good roads. And we absolutely have to improve our infrastructure, not only the roads, but our water systems. Everyone deserves and has a right to clean water, and they should be able to trust that water. So that'll be a very high priority for us.
That's right. And I know that people in Lansing, that's exactly what I hear in the community all the time, right? I heard it on the campaign trail, but more importantly, I'm hearing it now as an elected official. When I'm in community groups, when I'm in churches and union halls, that's what they're talking about, is how can we make government work for people people, right?
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
and I'm so proud of our caucus and the way that we approach that, right? So I'm just excited to
Well,
be
and
at
I
the
think
table.
too, we approach it that way because we're all coming with different experiences too. We have teachers, we have scientists, we have community leaders, locally elected people, we have small business owners, and we have all races and religions and everything in our caucus, age, everything. I'm one of the older ones, but to have so much variety and diversity in our age and geography here, that's when you have great solutions that are people-centered because we're hearing from different perspectives across the state.
That's right. And this is a testament to your leadership as well, is that the leadership team that you've built is very reflective of our caucus in terms of race and age and gender. It's probably one of the most diverse that I've ever seen in so many different ways. And so just kudos to you for making that happen in this historic 100th legislature.
Thank you. Thank you. You gave me goosebumps saying that. It is. It's absolutely thrilling.
Yeah, it's true, and I think it makes for a more inclusive and just a stronger agenda that reflects Michigan.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So, well, is there anything else that you want to tell our viewers in Lansing or just across the whole state about what we're doing as Democrats, or just some final words for women that are interested in politics?
Well, we're just getting started, right? We're just rolling out the 100th legislature in terms of policy agenda, so stay tuned. It's going to be exciting. We're going to be reaching across the entire state to bring our values and our priorities to all the people of Michigan. And women, keep fighting, keep going. 2016, 2018 was just the beginning, and keep serving and keep running.
Awesome. I'm super excited. Thank you again for being here. So this has been wonderful. And to learn more about Leader Greig and about the House Democratic Caucus, you can visit housedems.com. Again, thanks for being here. Thanks for tuning in. And next up, we will be talking to Democratic Policy Director Coffianne Hawthorne. So stick around and we will be right back.
See these hands? They grip the wheel of a Humvee in Afghanistan.
These hands? 6 years treating soldiers.
12 years flying choppers.
My hands? They're here for the person who fought in Afghanistan. I made the call and got support for my sister.
My hands are here for the person who treated those soldiers. I helped connect my son with the care he's earned.
Mine take care of the person who flew those helicopters. And if life gets overwhelming, they're ready to dial the Veterans Crisis Line.
The Veterans Crisis Line is here for all veterans and their loved ones. Call 1-800-273-8255 and press 1 or chat online at veteranscrisisline.net.
Operation Wonder Park is a go!
There's nothing more powerful than imagination. But don't just imagine. Use STEM to change the world.
Who's with me?
It's gonna hurt tomorrow.
If she can STEM, so can you. Find out more at She Can STEM.
Queen is just my everything.
His smile did it. His smile, his eyes, his knowledge. My landlord, he decided that he wanted me to move based on the fact that I was transgender. Let's just respect people in everyday life for just being human.
Can you concern with me? Imagine what you'd see if every child had a book to read. 'Cause every kid across the nation deserves a book to read, and we can make it happen right now.
No, I don't know what you've been told, but kids with books learn so much more.
So the mission is for us to get a book to each and every child.
So let's join hands, book people unite.
Unearth hidden passion.
Tomorrow we'll have a good time.
Living seeds of inspiration to motivate some magic.
Change
Read to a child today and spark a lifetime of ambition.
Hello, and welcome back. Our next guest is Ms. Coffianne Hawthorne, the Democratic Policy Director. Coffianne, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So can you tell the viewers a little bit about yourself and your personal and professional journey? So what led you to this position?
Well, I was born and raised in Saginaw, Michigan, which is about an hour north of here. I always had a very active family politically. My grandparents were very active in Chicago politics and also very active in the Saginaw community when they moved there. So growing up, we were always taken here, there, everywhere, and being involved in the things going on in the community. In fact, my grandmother was the director of Stop the Flow of Drugs in Saginaw's history when drugs was at its highest height. My mother was involved in that as well, and then my family was involved with Police Community Relations Commission, which was actually trying to bridge the gap between the community and law enforcement. Oh, wow. So I was inspired by all of that. My father was involved in the unions there. He worked for General Motors, and I was inspired by all of that and everything that I was seeing in Saginaw that was going on at the time. I remember when Saginaw was booming, and then when it kind of hit rock bottom a little bit when the plant started to close. So inspired by all of that, I wanted to be someone who worked in the public sector. I wanted to be Thurgood Marshall, so I decided I would go to law school and save the world. And I got to law school, and like most law school students, corporate law, entertainment law were the things that kind of drew me in, but it was really sticking close to my original goal of working in the public interest is what got me here.
That's so awesome. And I love the fact that many times all of the things that inform our journey, right? Our family, our upbringing, the city, it all helps to shape what we do and what we bring to the table in our various roles. So, and just knowing you personally, I know you bring all of those things to the table as our policy director. So for folks who do not live and breathe politics in Lansing, can you tell people, what does a policy director do?
Well, that's an interesting question. A policy director actually works with members like you on bringing to life the different ideals that you have for Michigan. The different legislation that you like to work on, the policy ideals, bringing those to life and putting a foundation under them. So I have a staff of about 10 people normally, and we're each divided by different subject matters, and we work together to work with the reps to introduce legislation and create policies that reflect their priorities.
Awesome. Now, I don't want to be presumptuous. I know there's been women who have held this position before, but are you the first African-American woman to be our policy director?
I do believe I am. Not the first African-American, but African-American woman, yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you very
Congratulations.
much.
I think it's important sometimes for us to call that out because you never know who's looking to you as inspiration out there. So you can't be what you can't see. So congratulations.
Thank you very
Congratulations. Much. So with every job, you have things that you love and things that you don't like so much. As our policy director, and I know you work with a lot of people, what's some of the good things and the bad things about the position?
I love it when we're able to work across the aisle to accomplish great things for Michigan. I have a couple of examples of that from last session. We worked together to address the Larry Nassar and MSU issue involving the survivors of the sexual assaults there. We worked together on human trafficking, combating that, which is a problem not just in Michigan, but around the country and in the world. And we worked together on criminal justice reform. Those are the things that I'm very proud of, when we can put partisan politics aside and just work for the greater good.
And that's what people want.
That is what they want. I don't think they want partisan bickering all the time.
That's right. That's right.
I think they want to see everyone working together to build the Michigan that they know can exist here.
That's right. That's right. All right, what's your least favorite part of the job?
I think that would be the amount of partisan politics. I think it gets in the way of us really accomplishing good things. I think we can all work together to find a common ground to reach a common goal, which is to make Michigan the best place it possibly can be.
That's right. Well, I can say from personal experience, watching you on the House floor, you do have a collaborative spirit. You're able to work with both the Democrats as well as our Republican colleagues, either at the staff level or interacting with the representatives. So you're the best woman for the job, I will say. What has been your proudest moment or accomplishment in this role?
So I say I have three.
Okay.
When I first came back on board in 2012, our staff was not as diverse as it has been over the past couple of years. So one of my personal goals was to expand, diversity on our staff. Because I truly believe that when you have different people who have different experiences in life, you really, have the ingredients that you need to make good policy. And I also believe that the staff should reflect the Michigan that we all serve. So I'm very proud that we were able to give an opportunity for individuals to work on staff who may not have otherwise had one. That's number one. Number two would be to expand educational opportunities for staff. I'm really into professional development. And so for the first time, I think in our staff's history, our entire staff except one person was able to go to the National Conference of State Legislatures to interact with policy individuals from around the world and to see what it's like, to know what other policy advisors like us are going through in their particular state. So I think that was really good. We went to Boston in 2017. And I think that the third one is probably that we've been able to do more policy development. Sometimes when you're in the minority, the thinking is you can't get a whole lot done. But you can still have ideals. You can still show the world that this is what we would do if we were in charge. And so policy was able to develop over the past 2 or 3 years over 100 ideals, bill ideals. And some of those have made it, have been introduced. Some of those are in the process of being introduced. And I think maybe 1 or 2 have actually made it to the governor's desk for a signature.
That is awesome. Those are definitely accomplishments you can be proud of. They really are. So talking about women in politics, women in the legislature, we talk about the fact this is the 100th legislature, and a record number of women have been elected, both Republican and Democratic women. How do you see, probably particularly with the House Democrats, but broadly, how do you see more women being at the table influencing policy and the work that we're able to get done on behalf of Michigan families?
Well, I see women having a unique opportunity to put a spotlight on issues that otherwise have not gotten that type of attention in the past. I do work closely with the Progressive Women's Caucus, which is our caucus works closely with them, and working on some of their policy ideals and initiatives. And I do think that when there's an opportunity, they do raise those concerns and those issues. And I think that that's part of it, is when you're at the table, when you see different issues that are being deliberated, that's your opportunity to kind of look in your portfolio of issues that are of concern to you and to raise them. When certain issues come up around women's health, Progressive Women's Caucus is there and ready to go to highlight the things that are important to them.
That's right.
So I think that women need to take the advantage or opportunity to do that when they have it.
And one thing I like about the Progressive Women's Caucus is that it's made up not just of legislators, but of their staff. So
yes.
Progressive women that are working behind the scenes to propel legislation.
Yes.
That's powerful, right?
Yes.
For a number of reasons.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they don't just work on, I know most of them think of the Progressive Women's Caucus as just passionate about abortion or a woman's rights to her own medical health. But there's also pay equity.
That's right.
There are child care issues. There are all types of issues that women face in Michigan. And it is comforting to know that there is this caucus of women who are fighting this fight for us.
That's right. That's right. And I love being a member of that. Members of my team are a part of the Progressive Women's Caucus. And so it's definitely been something that helps really to inform the work that I do as a legislator. So thank you for being involved in that. So we have 110 state representatives, and I know that you are able to interact with them and build relationships with 110 individuals with individual personalities and priorities from both sides of the aisle. How is that experience?
It can be a little challenging. It can be a little challenging. We, as the Democrats, we're in the minority. So in order for us really to get anything done, we do have to reach across the aisle. And so from a staff perspective is how I approach working across the aisle. When I'm covering a committee, I do get a chance to know the chair and work very closely with the chair. But I do have a counterpart in the other caucus across the aisle. I do have a counterpart or counterparts in the other chamber. And so it's very important that we establish a very good relationship, an open and trusting relationship from the beginning. And I think that kind of sets the tone for how we work together. So I think that we've been very successful at using that approach.
Yeah, I agree. So for some women who want to play a role in politics or government, but they don't necessarily see themselves as an elected official, right? The person who's actually pushing the button and voting on these things. How can people get involved in politics? How can women get involved in politics or just in advocacy?
You can start right in your local community. There are always issues going on. Even if you don't want to run for office, that doesn't mean that you can't become involved. Let folks know what your opinion is when issues come up. Go to city council meetings, go to county commission meetings, even in your church, issues come up. So I encourage people to use their voice to speak up. Sometimes we get in little circles and it's like we're whispering to the wind. Nobody's going to hear it. You just show up and speak up.
That's right. And I think I asked Leader Greig the same thing. What piece of advice would you have for a young Coffianne, right? Or a young woman in this field who wants to get involved? Or what would you tell your younger self early in your journey?
I would tell my younger self to stay passionate. I think that is what drives me every day, is the passion that I have for the issues that are concerned to me. Criminal justice, helping communities like my hometown, Saginaw. And I would tell a younger me to stay involved. It's hard, it's challenging sometimes, but stick with it.
I will tell you that your passion shines through every day when I see you on the House floor and in committees and the way that you lead your team. So thank you for your passion and thank you for your commitment to Michigan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to our viewers for being here. That concludes our very first show. I would like to again thank House Minority Leader Chris Greig, as well as Coffianne, for joining us today and offering valuable insight into their legislative and leadership positions within the House of Representatives. I would like to also thank our viewers for tuning in to our first episode of our television show. My staff and I are always here to serve you, so please don't hesitate to contact us with any questions or ideas. So until next time, thank you for viewing and for being here, and love Lansing.